Hello and welcome to the Jobin.cloud demo. I'm Michael and I'm here to make sure that you know how to run Jobin.cloud as efficiently as possible. Here's a series of timestamps so you can easily find what you're interested in. When you start out, you find yourself in the tutorial workgroup. This is shared between all Jobin users. But once you actually want to start building your own workflow, you're going to want to create your own private workgroup. You can do this by exiting the tutorial page and then clicking on Exit Tutorial. This will prompt you to actually create your own workgroup. From here, you can add a logo, descriptions, but most importantly, you can also invite team members. Each invited team member will have permission to view your workgroup and can then potentially cooperate on projects or any other activity within that workgroup. Now, there's a lot of steps to take once you actually start and create the workgroup, but I suggest to actually start off by creating the actual framework. So this means that first of all, you're going to actually want to create the jobs that you're working for. So as example, I'm going to say that I'm looking for a Java developer. I can then apply the client company that is hiring me to find this job. And then I have this entire job page to add additional details and information about that job position. But most importantly, what I actually care about is creating my custom pipeline. Each individual job that I create can have its own pipeline, and I can fully customize this according to my needs. In this case, it's a standard recruitment pipeline, so I'm actually happy with it as it is, but you can easily drag and drop stages, remove stages, and add any stage just by typing it out. You can then customize colors and so on. Pipelines also have exit stages, and these are basically archives for your workflow, so if someone says they're not interested, or if you've hired someone, you can just add them into this archive so that you can keep that contact within your database without having to actually delete them. This is especially important so that when you import them, you don't mistakenly re-import them and run them through the same exact pipeline which you had previously run them through already. I'll get into the actual import parts later on. Now, since we've created this job and we've assigned the specific company to it, automatically that exact company has already been added into our accounts list. Now, the accounts list basically is a list of all the companies that we want to keep an eye out for. This can be used in two ways. Be it a client company, then we can just add a contact person, basically the person that we need to reach out to for additional information about the job that we've been given. Then there's also a job vacancies page to see all the jobs that they've assigned to us. But in case it's a company that you just want to keep an eye out for, you can make use of the list of employees page. So if I were to add an additional company, for example Google, and let's say Google is a competitor company of my client company. So this means that their employees are potential perfect candidates for the job that I'm looking for. So all I need to do in that case is click on this button here, and it will automatically run a LinkedIn search for me to extract. Now you can extract LinkedIn search results in bulk just by clicking on the extension. You can simply select how many you want to import, in which pipeline you want to add them. So for example, I can just add them straight away in the Java developer page, add tags and notes. Now for sake of example, I'm actually only going to import one person from the Google employee list and import a search list on a different occasion. For example, Adabo here, just by clicking on the extension, we have now individually imported her profile into our database. We can from here as well tags, notes, and assign them to a job. But if we click on this link here, we can directly open her profile on Jobin. Now each import, be it a bulk import or an individual import, will always grab the full LinkedIn profile. And if we go now back to our accounts page, we can also see that within the Google page, Adabo is being displayed in the employee list. You can then easily choose to import more employees from Google or simply view the list of the employees. Now Jobin offers multiple sourcing methods, one simply being the actual standard import for a CSV file if you already have a database, and I'll cover this quickly since it's actually very fast as a procedure. You simply select the CSV file that you want to grab. This will actually auto-compile itself if you've previously compiled this same kind of format, so it also saves you time there. But just for sake of example, you have the fields on your left, you click on them and place them into the slot you want. You can also manually create fields as well, which it has also memorized for me, but I basically just click on the field here without having selected anything from my CSV file and just type out what I want to manually add. So I can just say CSV for example, and this will manually give this tag to all the contacts that are being imported. Now if I now click start import, this will extract that CSV file and place it into my database. But of course, these are just kind of CSV files and they don't really have much data in them, which is a bit of a shame. But since Jobin.cloud has an integrated sourcing method, we can actually straight away from here, thanks to the LinkedIn URL, update the profile, and this will automatically for us synchronize Lucas's LinkedIn profile with our Jobin database, so that we now, even from a CSV file, have an entire LinkedIn profile imported. Then we can of course run the same auto-update feature in bulk on multiple profiles. So I could, for example, just select all the CSV file imported contacts and go to more bulk actions and click auto-update all selected. This is going to launch this update sequence in bulk for me on all of these contacts, and we can also monitor how the operation is going from the ongoing operations page. From here we can see all the entire history of every contact that we've imported, basically Ella Dabo, Lucas, and then here in the queue, which will launch then automatically for us, the entire remaining update for all the other profiles as well. As far as it goes for sourcing for new leads, Jobin.cloud focuses on LinkedIn sourcing. Now there's a lot of options that you can pick to source from LinkedIn. One of them being the first connection extraction, so you just can quickly grab all your first connections and place them into the database, just so that you quickly have something to actually work with. Then there's individual import that we've shown with Ella Dabo, but there's also the bulk search import, a bulk group import, a bulk event import, and a bulk post participant import. Now the group, event, and post participant imports are more useful because you're actually importing people that have already engaged with a certain activity. And if that activity coincides with what you're trying to offer them, the chances of them actually engaging with you is much, much higher. For example, if you're participating in a JavaScript course, meaning that you're trying to learn for JavaScript, and you happen to be looking for junior Java developers, this is basically a perfect opportunity to find all the active Java developers that are trying to learn and improve themselves in the profession. Then of course there's always the backbone in actual bulk importing, which is the standard search import. You simply run the filter that you'd like. So I can, for example, run a filter for Java developer. I can then enhance it as needed directly from LinkedIn. Now I simply compile all the filters that I want and can enhance it as needed. The same search import will also work on Sales Navigator. Once again, all I need to do is just click on the Jobin extension, pick how many I want to extract, place them in the job that I want to place them into, and then click Start Importing. Now, differently from the individual imports, bulk imports actually have two phases to the entire process. The first phase is quickly going to extract search results for me and place them into my database. This is useful so you don't actually have to wait for them to fully import, because since we already know that we've run a search for Java developers and potentially could have enhanced the search even further, we already have a somewhat grasp of what we actually imported. So since we have them potentially assigned with a tag or already placed into a pipeline, we can already easily find them and interact with them straight away. So now with these 100 contacts, I could, for example, select them, send them messages, send them connection requests, move them through the pipelines, and so on. While automatically in the background for us, they're actually then being updated, which we can of course see in the ongoing operations page, where the previously launched contact auto update has now started and the actual full import of the other 100 profiles has also launched. We can actually see that the number of contacts here is not perfectly coinciding with 100, because 5 of these contacts coincidentally already happen to be part of the CSV file that I imported. This is because Jobin has an integrated automatic database duplication system, and having detected a duplicate, it automatically skipped them from being updated. This is in fact what allows us to actually update profiles. Thanks to this de-duplication system, you can add jobs, job-seeking interests, salaries, and all kinds of information. You can also attach CVs, attach any other kind of attachment, and so on, but you're not going to lose it once you update. And as proof that no actual information is lost, I can add, let's say, a tag for call as soon as possible, then job-seeking interest, and they also have the job application. Then I'll just click update, and it will synchronize them and actually merge the profile with the Jobin profile, so that we now only have one actual profile of Gino here with all the LinkedIn information and merged with the tags, job seeking statuses, and job applications all together. Now, since each profile is imported in full, be it from a bulk or individual import, this means that we can run very effective filters. Now, an easy way to explain filters is by using the LinkedIn Boolean string search as an example. If you're very familiar with it, it's a lot easier to grasp. Basically, I just write a series of keywords. And, going for the example of the Boolean string, this is exactly as if I had written Java or developer or software or senior. The only difference here is that it actually ranks them. So if someone matches multiple of these keywords, they will rank higher than others, We can then, through an actual fancy user interface, create all the other criteria from a Boolean string, which is the and not fields. And we can do this just by hovering over the keyword we want and clicking on the green button for an and, making it a Java and developer or software or senior string. And we could also simply select the not field to exclude a certain keyword. We can furthermore go into detail when we actually go into the all filters page, where we can customize also the importance of optional fields. So if I were, for example, to set all of these fields back to optional fields, we can also set a minimum threshold for those very same optional fields, thanks to this slider. If I were to, for example, put it to 2, this means that any of these 4 optional fields can be picked, but there must be at least 2 of the keywords for the result to be eligible to be displayed in our result list. If I were to, for example, put it to 1, only 1 out of these 4 keywords needs to match, and if I put it to 0, it is fully optional, meaning that my entire database will be visible, but those that match any of these keywords will rank higher. You can prevent this by creating some of these and filters, so now they have to be Java and developer, and then software or senior are fully optional. You can then enhance this with multiple other criteria, like adding a location, and locations also come with a calculation for radiuses. So I could, for example, search for a radius around Dublin, but I can keep it as an optional field because they don't necessarily need to be from Dublin, but if they are, they'll rank higher. I can then enhance these filters as needed and then save it as a template. As you've probably noticed, the template itself even has the stage of the pipeline in it. This is exceptionally useful because, like this, if I were to reset all my filters to see everyone in my database, I can straight away launch this filter here, and I'm already selecting the people in that first stage of my pipeline. So I can quickly and easily cater templates to each stage of my workflow. So I don't even need to do anything, I just have to load templates in the correct orders, for example for the assign stage, for the contacted stage, for the evaluation stage, and so on, and then simply click select all, but of course you can also select manually, and straight away get in touch with them. Thanks to Recruitment.cloud's outreach, you can actually get in touch with any profile you import. If my messaging method were the direct message from LinkedIn, Jobin is actually going to inform me here that since these contacts are not my first connections, they will not be able to receive this messaging method. Alternatively, I could use a LinkedIn inMail, or I could also use inMails as my messaging method. But this doesn't necessarily guarantee that I either have an email address, that they are my first connections, or that I have LinkedIn email credits to spare. So how do I actually reach out to anyone? Well, that's all thanks to the connection invitations. Connection invitations basically work like inMails, because you can send them to second and third connections. The only drawback is that LinkedIn, regardless of what subscription you're using, only allows you to send 100 per week. But Jobin.cloud is actually able to bypass this limit, so you can send as many invitations per week as necessary, and you can use this as the backbone of your outreach for anyone that either doesn't have an email or isn't your first connection. You can reach out to them thanks to the invitation note, and this goes for all the other messaging methods as well. You can load templates, and of course, since this is an automation tool, all these messages will automatically be sent in bulk for you as well, and will automatically adapt to each field that each contact has. So if I were to look at the preview here, we'll see that it's saying hi Vanessa, which is the name of the first contact in here, and then each of them will individually receive the message accordingly. To add these smart fields, you can use these 3 buttons at the bottom. The smart field with me are all smart fields that are about the sender. This is useful when working in teams, so one team member can create a template and everyone else in the workgroup can also use that same template, because each of these fields will always automatically adapt to the sender's information. Second is the contact smart fields. Since we import profiles in full, we have the luxury of being able to use a lot of potential smart fields to make our messages sound as personalized as possible. And lastly, there's job smart fields. For example, a job title, job emails, and so on. All I need to do is select which job I want to apply it to. In this case, Java developer. So if I now look at the job title smart fields and click preview, we'll see that it compiles itself to Java developer, which is our job title. We can then save, edit templates as needed through these 2 buttons, then set the note message. On top of being able to send a note together with the invitation, we can also add an automated follow-up. This is basically an attached direct message that will be sent as soon as the contact accepts the invitation. You can then customize how to actually use this follow-up depending on the delay that you want to set to it. If, for example, you put a short delay, you can use it to kind of give additional information to the contact once they've accepted the invitation. If alternatively, you want to use it as a follow-up to re-engage the conversation with the candidate, which will re-add this conversation to the top of their inbox and increase the chances that they actually reply. Then after confirming, you can obviously continue modifying the invitation as needed, and then just click send invitation, and that will launch the entire process for you. And just like with imports, you can then monitor them within the ongoing operations page. All these invitations will be sent through LinkedIn, and alternatively, if you'd rather send them through email, you can also do that, and that is also unlimited. So any profile that has an email can easily be sent an official LinkedIn invitation via email as well. Once you actually send the invitation, you'll have an automated prompt to move them to the next stage, but you can also manually move them through stages by pressing this button here and then selecting the stage that you want to move them to. Stages also have sub-stages which offer additional details and are strictly linked to that stage. So for example, you can say that they've been contacted and that now you're waiting for the application. Now, as we've been explaining how to send messages, in the background, additional profiles have finished updating, so now we actually have some new results which match our criteria. But we now actually want to see the contacts within the next stage. If we don't select any specific stage within our filter, it will show us the entire pipeline, like so. But there's also a way to view the entire pipeline in details by clicking on this button over here. This will open the Kanban view page, and this is a full screen page of the entire pipeline and all the contacts within it, in which you can easily drag and drop contacts through the stages as needed, which is mostly useful when you need to fine-tune in the later stages where bulk operations are less necessary and it's more of a human interaction with manual evaluations and then job offers. Of course, there's multiple views to cater to each kind of workflow. This is the default view since it shows a bit of everything. You can see lists, but you can also see appropriate details by having it appear as soon as you select them. On top of that, you have a convenient events timeline displayed here at the bottom, which shows every interaction you've had with that specific contact, all with timestamps and badges of who did what. This event timeline is of course shared with the entire work group, so everyone can easily synchronize and understand what's going on in the workflow. Interactions that get logged include updates of the profile, the initial source of the profile, pipeline movements, conversations, invitations, emails, and so on, so that you can always easily know what's been going on with that contact. But if you want to see it from a more compact and dense point of view, you can go to our contact list page, where contacts and their events are all directly displayed from outside without actually having to select them. And of course, from here as well, you can run bulk operations by just selecting them, and this bar here at the bottom will appear, from which you can pick any potential bulk operation, be it assigning them to a new stage, assigning them to an exit stage, assigning them to new jobs, tags, messages, connection requests, deleting them, updating them, or exporting them. If instead we want to go into more detail on a specific contact, when we open them and go to the events timeline page, we can see in full screen all the interactions we've had with that specific person. This mostly comes in handy so that you can easily read all the conversations that you've had. Now, of course, since connection invitations are potentially the backbone of our entire outreach, it is important to keep our LinkedIn account as healthy as possible. This can be done through the dashboard page. Here we can see all kinds of information about our LinkedIn account with a timeline, a social selling index, but what is most important is to keep an eye out on how many pending invitations we have, because each pending invitation is an invitation that a contact has ignored. And if contacts are ignoring your invitations, that means that maybe you're sending them to the wrong person. So LinkedIn uses this to score your account, meaning the more pending invitations you have, the more detrimental it is. So this means that it's very important, especially since you can send a lot of invitations in bulk, that you can also withdraw them in bulk. And this can also be done according to criteria. So you don't necessarily have to withdraw all invitations. You can also set that it has to specifically only withdraw connection requests that are older than a certain date, for example 50 days, or you can simply say to withdraw the oldest 100 invitations. Last but not least, Google and Bing X-ray searches. These are especially important because LinkedIn searches are very strictly tied to our network. So LinkedIn searches outside of our network won't fruit many results. But if we run those same criteria through a Google or Bing X-ray, we will have the entirety of the web at our disposal without any bias towards our network. When you have a filter active, this filter will automatically also be transferred into the Google X-ray to save time. From there, you can then select which website you'd like to scan. By default, we recommend scanning for LinkedIn since the automation allows you to easily import all the information there, and then you simply run the Google X-ray search. X-rays can prove extremely useful when searching for a very niche kind of role that you usually can't find. So with this example, which is a rather broad search, you're better off running a LinkedIn search. But when you're looking for that needle in the haystack, you can always easily find it thanks to Google X-rays. But now, how do we actually import them into our database? Of course, we can open the profile and then simply import them individually, as we've shown earlier. But since Jobin tries to cater to LinkedIn free accounts, because for a Jobin user, there's little to no difference for someone that is using a LinkedIn free subscription or someone that is paying for Sales Navigator, aside from maybe having a more advanced LinkedIn search. But you can always filter from within Jobin, so that isn't much of a problem. The downside with using a LinkedIn free account is that LinkedIn generally doesn't want recruiters to actually use the free account. They want you to actually pay for higher subscriptions. This means that if you're too proficient and open too many profiles, LinkedIn may block you, and if you often use X-rays, you're prone to opening a lot of profiles. To prevent this issue, there's no need to actually click the URL and open the LinkedIn page. We can instead just copy the link address, and when going back to the Jobin page, we can simply manually compile a profile, paste in the LinkedIn URL into the empty profile, and click update, and this will automatically synchronize that URL with its corresponding LinkedIn profile without having forced us to actually view that page. And as mentioned earlier, since this can be run in bulk on your entire database, and together with the automated de-duplication and merging system, we can actually use this technology to easily update our database. So there's no need to worry about importing all these profiles and then after 6 months, where they've potentially changed job, having to throw everything away again. With Jobin instead, you can straight away filter for insertion date, go for example for last updated, pick a date before say a couple months, so let's say before August. Now in my case it's empty because I've just imported everyone now, but you can basically search for that insertion date, click select all to find all these old profiles, which if I actually remove the filter here I can show. So we'll have here in more bulk actions the auto update all selected option. To close off the demo and summarize what we've concluded, we can say that Jobin.cloud helps you in sourcing for potential new leads, either through LinkedIn or through Google X-rays. It can help you easily keep track of profiles through pipelines, tags, and so on. It allows you to easily find the best candidates thanks to advanced filters, and it allows you to reach out to anyone, be it by email, by direct message, by inMail, or by connection invitation. Just a quick tip, inMails can be sent for free to anyone that is set as an open profile. Jobin also comes in handy here because there is a specific filter to find profiles with the open profile tag. So like this, we can easily find anyone that we can send an inMail to for free, and well, send them an inMail even if we're LinkedIn free users. And then, last but not least, Jobin.cloud helps keep your LinkedIn account nice and healthy, and you can also basically use it to quickly grow your LinkedIn network because you can send a lot of invitations and withdraw any that have been left pending. If you have any questions, make sure to contact us, and keep in mind that you can always reach out to us from the help page where you can browse for the frequently asked questions and directly contact us as well by clicking this button here. Make sure to reach out if you have any questions, we'd be delighted to help.